Good morning, afternoon, or evening all. Thanks for joining us today for Stable Stories. Stable Stories is a video series that explores the behind-the-scenes experiences, learnings, and insights of builders pioneering in the stablecoin industry. Today we have Rachel Meyer, the VP of Product at ARC. And if you don't know, ARC is a layer 1 blockchain purpose-built for stablecoins, built by Circle. Very excited about this episode. How you doing, Rachel?
Doing good. How are you, Dave?
I cannot complain. It's been a good and busy day, and I'm excited for this. So, yeah. You ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
Awesome. So why don't we just kick things off real easy? Tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background in crypto, and how you came to Circle and to ultimately ARC.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm born and raised in Venezuela, native crypto Latina, and also a fellow math nerd and geek at MIT and Cornell. Really, my experience in Venezuela is living through some of the worst economic collapses that has happened in recent history. The hyperinflation, the bags of cash. That's what shaped me to my core. Really brought me early on in my career to finance and fintech and macro. So immediately after college at MIT studying math, I knew that I wanted to be in finance and crypto. Bitcoin was just starting out. And so, I found it life-saving technology, quite literally. At the time, it was Bitcoin, then stablecoins. Spent 5 years at JP Morgan trading emerging market currencies. But I'm an entrepreneur at heart, a builder at heart. So I started my startup in 2014, 2015 that let people invest through rules, crypto being one of those particular assets early on in the mobile era. And 2.5 years in, met Jeremy in Boston, and me and my startup were one of Circle's first acquisitions in 2017. My co-founder Adrian is actually my counterpart, my tech lead for ARC. So we've been together in that building journey ever since. And it's been 8 years. It's been 8 years, which is crazy, building USDC, scaling stablecoins to what it is today. And over the years, building and scaling USDC, seeing the challenges that public blockchains have today when serving this new and emerging market that wants to interact with stablecoins. Me being on the product team, have always had it in our backlog, wanting to launch our own blockchain to help solve some of these pain points these last few years. And now, it's the perfect time. It's the perfect time to line up the demand, to line up the vision that Jeremy had set out. The perfect time for Circle to invest. And that's why I'm here to tell you everything about ARC.
Amazing. It does seem like the perfect time. Been waiting for a very long time. I haven't been in crypto professionally as long as you, but it's been a while for me. And yeah, all of the things we've talked about being possible feels like it's finally actually coming, being pulled into reality, which is super exciting.
Timing is everything in startups. Especially in crypto, right? Like the vision and the ideas have been there, but it's a combination of the demand, the technology, the regulation, and the appetite. So this year feels truly special.
It does. Amazing. So you may not have a specific example, but do you remember the first time you used or interacted with a stablecoin? Because I'd like to hear about that if you do.
Yeah. Well, definitely when we were launching USDC early on in 2018, we used all stablecoins that were available in the market back then, just to test out exactly, the different experiences. But as we were launching USDC in 2018, the first thing I did was to send some USDC to my mom and my dad, who at the time were in Miami and also in Venezuela and in Colombia. And they're boomers. They didn't know anything better. to lot. Here's how you download MetaMask. There were a couple of Venezuelan wallets, and they're like, okay, I have a dollar account. So that was my actual first experience. And then I remember vividly what was really, an aha moment for me with stablecoins was when we were doing a lot of the governance proposals for Compound at the time. And this was late 2018 or 2019. And then we got USDC as one of like the first collateral assets. And then myself, I lent USDC against, Ethereum. And that was like awesome because, as you know, rates were 0 at the time and not on Compound. And we have programmable money and programmable on-chain money markets. So that was a pretty cool first experience with stablecoins.
It's magic when you do something and it works and you're like, how did this just work? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it really is. I got to ask, did it click for your parents when you sent the USDC after the MetaMask setup and all of that? Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Because I've been through the same thing with my parents.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a struggle to explain how awesome what just happened actually is, right?
Yeah. Like, what's a crypto dollar?
Yeah. But I think that, even that's changing rapidly as well.
It's changing.
Yeah. And I mean, ARK aims to be a big part of that transition. So, tell me more about ARK.
Yes. So ARK is the economic operating system for the internet. And it's a layer 1 blockchain that's really aimed to unite the real world economic activity that's happening today with the on-chain innovation that you and I know that we just talked about, really, to enable the stablecoin economy. And so over the years at Circle and the product team, it was really designed to meet the needs of developers and companies trying to bring these flows and economic activity on chain, where, we believe we're really at the inflection point, similar to prior shifts in the internet, whether it was social or mobile or cloud, or now what's happening with AI. That's what ARK's vision is really aimed to do, is to be, the economic operating system for the internet. And it was really built with 3 principles and fundamentals in mind. Number 1 was the concept of predictable gas fees starting in stablecoins. We're starting with USDC. So users and developers can pay for gas in stablecoins natively. And ARK really is for all stablecoins, not just USDC. It has super fast instant finality. So deterministic, sub-second, all blocks finalized in less than 1 second. And that was really important to some of our payments partners who really need to understand like when a payment is final. And then the third principle is opt-in, compliant, configurable privacy. So, developers and builders and institutions can have the benefits of a public blockchain, but on a case-by-case, transaction by transaction, or contract by contract, selectively shield balances and transactions. And so those 3 principles really remove, we think, the barriers to adoption. And we've been talking about like that was the right time. And so those 3 principles, combined with the demand, combined with the stablecoin legislation that's happening over the world, we're marrying sort of that on-chain innovation with 3 principles. So these consumers, the enterprises, the big business can now, feel comfortable coming on-chain.
Awesome. Yeah. It totally makes sense. And can you speak to a little bit about how the design choices for ARK are informed by, previous experiences with institutions and partners that are struggling to bring their businesses and their financial products on chain?
Totally. So, I mean, in the last few years, we've worked to really bring USDC to, I think now close to 30 different blockchains, and over speaking to enterprises and builders and banks and financial institutions, the same problems really came up over and over again. Number 1 was just unpredictable gas fees, the use of volatile crypto tokens. Every transaction, you don't know how much it's going to spike. It's volatile in the secondary market. It was unclear what the accounting rules is. And then they have to go get an opinions for how to account for that in their corporate balance sheet. If you're public, it has different implications. And that was just to get the integration done. Then let alone exposing that to their customer developer. Now they needed to abstract that experience. And so it was that in and of itself took a while to like design and complete. And then we had, unclear definition of when transactions were final. Like it wasn't consistent amongst different blockchains. Settlement times, we had to explain how Ethereum is, and then a layer 2 definition to like a bank CFO, and like their heads would just be like, oh, it's too much, Rachel. Just tell me when it's final. It's like, well, it's an epoch. And then, once you get over those 2 hurdles, then it was the conversation of, this is great, but beyond this, POC, there's no great privacy solution. So leaking competitor, this is the default of a public blockchain. I don't want to leak my balance and my transaction to my competitors or public, and I don't want to, leak this to investors. What if it's material information? And existing, privacy solutions on other ecosystems have always been a bolt-on, like added feature there after the fact, and inevitably suffer from some UX performance trade-off, whether it's like performance or they need to redeploy a contract, and it's just not smooth. So, the vast majority of businesses, even from small and large to developer builders, just kept on experiencing these pain points. And, we believe that these are core pain points and capabilities that just needed to be solved at the layer 1 level. You can't really solve them well if you go up the stack. And it's why we built Arc as a layer 1. So every player that is going to come on chain for the tokenized economy will need these 3 things. They'll need the predictable, gas fees priced in stablecoins that can be dollar stablecoins or non-dollar stablecoins. They'll need the fast finality. So every block will finalize in less than 1 second. In our case, it uses Malachite consensus, which is super fast, BFT consensus, and opt-in privacy. So for the vast majority of transactions, public blockchains are great, but if you really needed some sensitive flows, whether it's B2B flows, payroll, trading flows, etc., that are, actually like off-chain flows, you'll need opt-in compliant privacy, that doesn't break with the auditors or the regulators' rules of how to expose the transactions underneath. And so, yeah, those were like the 3 like pain points that drove us to these decisions. And we're building Arc with that in mind.
Very good. And Arc is in a category of emergent layer 1 stablecoin or stablecoin layer 1 projects. And I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit to what makes Arc unique versus some of the other incumbents.
Yeah. So maybe like zooming out, I believe this is going to be a ginormous, large market. There'll be multiple competitors. The end game is the stablecoin and tokenized economy, which eventually will be large parts of the economy itself. So like we're grounded in like, this isn't a huge market. And, as I mentioned, Arc is really focused on powering the use cases for that stablecoin economy beyond payments. So lending and borrowing, expanding access to credit. You have narrow banking, you have credit. You need credit for raising economic prosperity, foreign exchange, the agentic commerce revolution. So Arc is really focused on enabling the vast majority of those use cases to proliferate and bringing the institutions to this new economy, but also with the power of Circle and the ecosystem that we have with USDC, marrying that demand with the DeFi innovations that we've seen proliferate with USDC in the first place. So, there's different, it's an emerging ecosystem, like you said. There's different stablecoin L1s. They're all focused on different use cases. Probably Tempo and Stripe are hyper-focused on payments. Maybe someone like Plasma is super focused on USDT and peer-to-peer consumer neobanking. And Arc is really focused on expanding those use cases for stablecoin finance in the economy. And, rising tides lift all ships. But other than those 3 core innovations that we talked about, I think where Arc really stands out is with Circle and USDC, we're bringing the depth of on and off ramps, right? So USDC is super liquid, not just with the cross-chain liquidity, but also, we have global GSIPs around the world where any business institution can use those on and off ramps in South America and Latin America and Brazil, like major banking institutions with Mika in Europe, in Singapore and in Asia. So like we really have like great on and off ramps. And then I would say another differentiator would be, the best in class interoperability suite of products that Circle brings. So by USDC being a stablecoin, gas token starting on the chain, USDC connects almost 30 blockchains today, and 90%, we power like 90% of that cross-chain activity through CCTP and gateway. And so, while we're focusing on those use cases, like we really think that not only use cases will live on Arc, we obviously understand that, but what we can do is to have the seamless experience of making it really good and easy and fast to go from Arc to another connected ecosystem. So I like to say like 1 second, 1 click, 1 cent experiences to and from, enabling the value to flow with the breadth of what the Circle platform also provides.
Totally. For what it's worth, we're working on exactly the same thing in a different vein. Could not agree more. In terms of growth plans, I was actually watching a highlight of a previous podcast that you were on where you talk about DeFi leading to stablecoin economies, right? And I'm wondering if you think it's in terms of the way that the marketplace develops, is it a necessary prerequisite for large institutions to move into the space first in order to set the ground for smaller projects and local businesses to start truly leveraging stablecoins, or is it more of a parallel development path where you see both ends happening at the same time?
I think the beauty of what Arc and Circle can do is that we can accelerate that parallel development path. So like where, you'll see that the Testnet launch announcement is an example of that, where we're really bringing the best of DeFi, the best of on-chain economy to Arc for the stablecoin builders, and then connecting those with the distribution and the amazing partnerships that we have today who are working with stablecoins. And we'll talk about, the global GSIPs and the Fintechs. And the trick is finding the puzzle pieces for a thriving stablecoin ecosystem that can leverage one and the other, right? So if one is really interested in the DeFi mullet, okay, well, as an ecosystem, we have to connect the borrow lend protocols with the right tools, with the right blockchain features that we discussed, and work with the major fintech who's exposing that. Or is it, a missing piece of an asset, right? So if it's Apollo, who's a launch partner of ours, and they're bringing, a tokenized private credit on chain, well, okay, well, how do we make that like really great to borrow, lend against efficiently and do, the on-chain experiences that we all know and love that their existing investors can't get access to today. So I think it's a parallel path. And I think, with Arc and what we're building and with the Circle platform and the distribution, like we're really able to accelerate that.
Definitely. You also, you buried the lead a little there. You just dropped Testnet without, and just went right by it. Tell me more about the Arc Testnet,
Yes.
which is live as of the recording being published. So I want to hear more about that.
Yes. We're super excited to share that Arc is now available in public testnet. So we're excited to share that there's over 100 plus design partners from major sectors across the economy, from the global financial system to the on-chain economy, and with deep support of the existing blockchain. So banks and Fortune 500 companies to marquee DeFi and stablecoins. They're all exploring Arc on public testnet, and it's the first version of the network. So devs are now welcome to come and start experimenting, explore the documentation, deploy contracts, test flows and integrations, and start giving us feedback. So testnets are living, breathing, eating things, and we're super excited to start building in the open, and connecting the amazing partners that we have lined up for testnet.
Huge congrats. First off, that's awesome. You must be
Thanks.
Extremely excited.
Yeah, we're super excited. I mean, we can just talk about some of the partners that we're really excited.
That was going to be if you could pick a couple of good examples of the different partners that you have, that'd be great.
Yes. So, I mean, we have the core DeFi must-haves, Fortune 500 companies, and some GSIB, global banks. And so some of the categories, first, let's start with the assets, what assets are going to be there on public testnet. So we're really focused on the tokenized and stablecoin economy. So we have local stablecoin issuers. So all their fiat-backed dollar stablecoins coming to ARC in Mexico, in the Philippines, in Australia, in Brazil, in yen, in Korea and Canada, and many more, so that we can have those exciting stablecoin effects use cases, as well as other dollar-backed fiat currencies coming. So it's not a USDC chain. It's many, many different types of asset issuers. We have, obviously the developer tooling and blockchain infra that's needed for every one of these folks to build. So wallets and custodians, Ledger, Fireblocks, Dynamic, Third Web, Alchemy, Cross, Wormhole, and many, many more coming soon. And then it's the DeFi and the on-chain innovators matched with the Fintechs and the payments and the capital markets folks. So, your borrow lend protocols, Aave, Maple, Morpho, your stablecoin protocols like Curve, they will, be on the same settlement layer as some of these amazing payments and Fintechs like Cloudflare and Visa and MasterCard and Brex and Ramp, as well as, the traditional capital markets players like Apollo, who's bringing, credit products on chain, State Street, Deutsche Bank, SCB. And so this is just, one of many partners announced. In terms of we spent the last 3 months speaking to these partners and pitching them ARC and getting their take. And some of the use cases that we're really excited about is some of these Fintechs like Ramp and Brex, they're starting with just letting their customers pay their bills in stablecoins. And they have lots of AI companies, they have lots of crypto companies that already have stablecoin balances. And you always start with, on the product team, just a quick win, for your roadmap that enables some value prop. But they see these networks and these stablecoins to rebuilding their products from the ground up. So what does it look like to have a corporate card experience with loyalty and stablecoin? That's where on-chain money and rewards really thrive. But they need privacy because you can't leak balances and credit scores and payment activity. So that's what we talked about. We're now is the moment where something like privacy or reversible transactions is really needed to enable the next version of the roadmap. And so we're super excited for testnet. Come and check it out. I'm gonna plug it.
Yeah, you should plug it.
ARC.network. Go to the docs. Join our Discord. Start building. Start deploying contracts. Tell us feedback. Reach out to us on Twitter and X and Discord.
Awesome. Thinking a little bit deeper into that, how does your thoughts on the types of applications that you want to see built on ARC, that you expect to see built on ARC, how did that inform your initial partner cohort? Because it sounds like you've got a stacked bench already. But how did you set that up initially to sort of set the table for what you want to see next in the coming months?
Yeah, I mean, we sort of, went through our pipeline and our distribution partners of who wanted to build with USDC. And we saw like what are the gaps of use cases and applications within stablecoin finance that we really want to see thrive. And so like there are a few use cases that we really want to like zero in, whether it's stablecoin FX. And for stablecoin FX to really thrive, well, you need the stablecoins. And so we like spent a lot of time talking to different partners who were thinking of launching like non-dollar stablecoins, and what were their barriers to adoption? Why haven't they launched today? So, for stablecoin FX to thrive, you need the stablecoin. So we have like, 8 or 9 different stablecoins. Then what are the use cases for stablecoin FX? So we have to talk about the different hedging instruments, like where's the liquidity going to come from? So that's where you need different like trading interfaces and AMMs and, different, banking support so they can bank these stablecoins. That's why you have the local GSIBs. And then, okay, who's going to use these like great interfaces and trading interactions? Well, payments and Fintechs, because, the correspondent banking has its own issues. And if you could do it with, stable FX 24/7, that's programmable. Well, that's a different value prop. So we sort of like had to triage all the different use cases that we wanted to see, starting with, what is the gap that's not being served in the market and what ARC and Circle can uniquely like focus on. So you'll start to see that across like the use cases, whether it's stables, FX, perpetuals, gaps that exist in credit, the emerging agentic like commerce applications. So yeah, it's a lot of triage between our product and business teams.
Happy problem to have though, right?
Yeah, good
definitely.
Place to be.
Yeah, lots to look forward to. Cool. Well, I think this is probably a good place to call it. I want to thank you for coming on and talking about ARC. Before we go, one more pie in the sky question. Next 12 to 24 months from where you're sitting, what does the stablecoin landscape look like? What's that like? What's the Chat GPT moment for stablecoins? Might even be Chat GPT itself with payments coming to OpenAI.
Maybe.
But any hot takes or predictions?
Yeah. Let's see. I think the end game is the stablecoin and tokenized economy starts to take shape. And, if I had to like reason by analogy, I would imagine that like the AI researchers who were grinding it out like in the years prior to ChatGPT are like us in crypto, where like they're working on their product, they're working on their models, they're working on like the core like power infra. And they just see, the marginal improvement that seems really, really small. And then they have a release, like their, V1 GPT or like ARC1 public testnet. And then suddenly, they experience like the user's aha moment. So if you ask me, like, what's the GPT moment for stablecoins? It's probably happening to us in crypto right now, where like all of our teams across the industry are like chopping up the way at these improvements. With ARC, we're focused on stable gas and privacy and finality. And these are like silent unlocks that now in the hands of developers who are building these amazing applications, people just stop thinking about crypto. So like in 24 months, it's not crypto. It's value, just like in the internet, sending a message. The interface fades away, the approval like flows and UX fades away. And, you have entirely like native new financial services for billions of people completely on chain. That's safe, instant, cheap. And that's the breakthrough. I don't think it's like one single like viral app, but it's just a mental shift. Money that's programmable at the speed of the internet without friction, and that feels normal to us.
I love that. Bit of a non sequitur, but I think about stablecoin adoption, and at the end of the day, it's just efficient money moving around the world, right? It shouldn't be noticed. And there's this quote from a guy named Alan Watts, and basically it goes along the lines of like, when your eye is working properly, you don't notice your eye. When your heart's working properly, you don't notice your heart. Mm-hmm. And money is such the same, right? At the end of the day, like it will work when nobody notices it working, and it just does. and it works better, right? Which is, I guess, maybe a little bit it's inglorious. It's not glorious for those of us working in it, right?
Right.
Maybe no ticker tape parades, but the outcomes will be well worth it, I think.
Totally. Silent unlocks.
Yeah, a lot of silent unlocks. Okay, cool. Absolute last thing. One more quick plug for ARC. We will include links in the show notes as well. But yeah, ARC, the website where people should go. You're on Twitter.
Yep, definitely. So ARC public testnet is live today. Go to arc.network to see our docs, learn more, connect to the RPCs, start using the block explorer. And you can start integrating, testing, exploring different applications, deploy your contracts, launch tokens, check out the cross-chain interop that we have, and join our Discord, reach me and other architects on X and other socials.
Amazing. Are you calling them architects?
Architects.
That's
good. You like it?
I really like that. I really like that. That's very good. Rachel, thank you so much for joining. And yeah, go check out ARC. We'll talk again soon. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah.
Thanks.
It was fun. Bye.